Hello. Welcome to Conversations with Celena. It is Saturday night, 7 o'clock, and we have a special edition. I know. You say, Sunshine, you say that they are all special editions, but when I tell you this one is near and dear to my heart, it is truly a special edition of Conversations with Celena because tonight we're talking to Gloria Berry Brown, and she's talking about her sweet Shane, and we'll be right back in just a moment. So go ahead and share this video. We're going to give you a minute to share, and definitely shout out our sponsor for tonight. So tonight's sponsor of this episode is Gloria Newson, her and her sweet husband, Papa, we call him Gerard. They have Magnolia Essence, and they have always been great supporters and sponsors of Conversations with Celena. So we're just going to give them a shout out today. So be sure to go over and support their business and go share this video. So we'll be right back. All right. So be sure to go over to Magnolia Essence. And we just want to say thank you for supporting tonight's episode. I said, isn't that something? It's Gloria and Gloria. So Gloria is supporting Gloria, celebrating Shane on tonight. And I love it because, we grow up sometimes thinking that we're not enough. And when we show up and show out, God shows out on our behalf. And then we find out sometimes later in life that we are more than enough. We're more than conquerors. And our faith starts to shine through. And on tonight, when I tell you, this lady right here, she has impacted my life for so many years. I grew up with her. She's my aunt. I can call her Aunt Gloria too. But
Yes.
just to show her faith, and she doesn't feel well tonight, but guess what? She shows up and she shows out. So on tonight, I just want to introduce to you Shane's mother, Gloria Brown. Welcome to Conversations with Celena, Auntie.
Thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. It is certainly my pleasure to be a part of something that's special and growing and helping and touching. So thank you again for inviting me and inviting me to talk about my Shane. So
You're
I
Shane.
appreciate you just as much as you appreciate me.
Yes. So I don't even know where I want to start because there's so much information. Oh my goodness. Let's start out, I think is the best thing, of telling us what Shane was like growing up. Just a little bit of back history before we get to the current situation so that we'll get an opportunity to just know a little bit, since this is about remembering and celebrating. Tell us about him as a young kid and a teenager, just your fondest memories of him.
He is the love of my life. He is my joy, my gift that I ask God for, and the Lord has blessed me tremendously for these 20 years with him. He was the absolute best child from birth until his 20 years. I tell everyone I think the Lord was playing a practical joke on me because my pregnancy was great. He was such a wonderful, good child. And I just say, the Lord must be playing a trick on me to have a few more of these because he is just too amazing of a young man, exceptionally bright, always a joy, just always excited to learn. And I put him in just about everything. And it was, oh, mom, I don't want to. But he would come home after that first day and mouth won't stop and talk about the
Just
day and
talk about
talk
it.
about, oh my God, from taekwondo to swimming to basketball to robotics, name it, he was in it, and he enjoyed every millisecond and he really truly enjoyed learning. And
Mm-hmm.
he was such a good friend to all. And I just again can't say what an exceptional child that he was. And he was truly a gift that I pray God for. He was my first and only child, and but he was the love of my life.
And will always be the love of your life.
Yes, he is. He's my sunshine.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love it. So you said that anything you put him in, he frowned at first, but then the first day he couldn't stop talking about it.
He soared. When I tell you, math and science and athletically, um, academically, he just whatever he touched, he would just excel at it. And his dream school was MIT. He did get an interview with MIT. 28 on the ACT composite. So he was an
Hmm.
exceptionally bright kid, and he enjoyed life and just wanted to work with. He wanted to be an aerospace engineer, and he loved tinkering with things, whether it was from the computer right down to the robotics. So he really, really enjoyed learning and giving whatever he had to do, give it all, give it his all. So
Giving it his all. Mm,
yes,
mm.
he really did. From making cake pops with grandma to running up and down the court on the basketball team. So, but he really enjoyed every bit of it.
So I remember like you used to get out and play basketball. Like you're not the parent that would send him to go do anything. You actually showed up and did it right alongside of him because I remember one time Nelson was like, "Ain't Gloria out there playing basketball with Shane? We were at your house, as a matter of fact." And I'm like, "Man, I wish I had that kind of energy to get out there." And so definitely, you were a hands-on parent, not a here, go do this type of a parent.
No, very involved, very involved. From whether it was him and other kids I'm picking up or taking them to events, but also was a participant as a parent. So I showed up for everything. I told everybody I think I've seen every corner of Louisiana from running with this child, but it was my most pleasure to having to do that, to see the joy when he see me come in the whether it's the
Mhm.
court or at an event, and just to see him light up, to know that he's going to do his best at whatever it was that he was partaking in. But no, I was definitely a hands-on mom. So from basketball to swimming to school events, so everything going on at school, I'm there. So the teachers always know, Shane, mom, she'll be here. So
And that makes all the difference
it
in
makes all the difference.
your child's life and the relationship that you have,
It
with the
really
kids
does.
and stuff. So,
So if I had
yes.
anything to share with a parent, is just the one little thing that you think like, oh well, but it makes a huge difference in your child's life. It really
Hmm.
makes a huge difference. Just to show up and know that you are participating in whatever it is that they're deciding to do, it makes a very, very big difference in their lives.
Hmm. Well, I love it. I love it. And he was an only child. Was he a giver? Was he a giver? Because sometimes those only kids, because I was the only kid for a long time, and then when it's time to share, you don't want to share, but it just sounds like he was such a loving, giving child.
He was certainly a giver, and I wanted to make sure he was raised that way, because I know sometimes the only child can feel like, oh wow, the world is theirs, and
All
they
mine.
give, take, 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 but don't give. But he was certainly a giver,
Hmm.
and he was always very helpful, even with the students at school. Just through this entire process, I've heard from some of the teenagers how he helped them with math, and how he would be at school, come back, pick them up what they missed the bus or something like that. So he was always a giver. He was
Oh
always a giver.
man, that
Yeah,
is.
he was
Yes.
always a giver.
So, right before we went live, just to go ahead and since we have that background of such a loving, intelligent young man, to bring everyone to speed to like right now. The last, or what I heard was the last thing that you heard was, I'm on my way home. I have to stop and get gas. And then you never heard anything from him again. So can you tell us
Yes,
about that and forward?
yes, it was that he had went the night before out, and I called him that night, and we had a conversation. And he said he'll be home when he get in from work. And so the next day I called, he said that he'll be in. He's just gonna stop and on his way in here, but he'll be in.
Mm-hmm.
But as night fell, because he usually get off around 7, and he'll make it home around 9 o'clock if he don't have to stop or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something so out of the ordinary that, and a mother has an instinct, and when they follow that instinct, um, it truly tells them what is not going right. And that's what I felt at that moment. And so I kept calling his phone. First, it was just ring, ring, ring. And then it just started going into voicemail. And I told myself that something is just not right. And the next morning, I still hadn't heard anything. And I just said, something is certainly not right because he would either text me, call me, or something. And I had got uh, confirmation of neither. So you always hear details about um, someone have to be missing for a certain at the time before you report them. But I'm just going to call the police department because he's still 20. He's 20 years old, so to me he's still a child. And I
Right.
said, let me just call and find out what are my options right now. And she said, well, usually we don't take a report, but I take the information. But have you checked the hospitals, the jails, and all those things like that? So I said, in the meantime, I'll do those things, but she will take the information.
Okay.
And so when I got that information and I done called, and his phone is linked to mine, so I went through the phone list and called all the numbers that was in his phone. Dialed within the past 24 hours. No one hadn't seen him, or maybe they talked to him earlier or something like that. And I done called the hospitals, the jails, the everything I could think of that possibly would have someone that may have had an accident or maybe got stopped or something. I had called everything. And so by midday, I just said, well, it's still not right. And I just prayed. I just said, Lord, I just said that I know something is wrong, but I just, if I can find his phone and find the car, perhaps I can find him.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch a lot of ID, investigative ID channel, and
Like we all do.
yes, so and police shows. So I said that, well, I know I always talk about the ping of the phone and things like that. So I said, let me just call the phone service and see if I can find out if there's, even if the phone is not on, is there any way that I can still possibly get a ping on the phone? And my heart dropped when the girl said, well, if the phone is not on and blah, blah, blah. I just said, Lord, I just said, it just can't be. And then all of a sudden, the girl tells me, she said, wait, let me just try this one thing. And she went in a roundabout way through the internet. And God beholds, it had one little ping where the phone was either turned on that morning for like, I mean, just for a few seconds. And that, they got that ping. And it was at this point, it was about 5 o'clock in the evening. I had my niece's baby, and I just said, "Well, I just got to go where this ping is." So I searched the area as to what location or store was near where the phone was pinging, and that'll give me some type of direction to go and take a look. And
And
I
so you
said,
do your own research and leg work. I mean, you turned into
"Yes, yes." I
mom.
said that, yes, because I said, you know what? It just said if I don't do it, who is going to take this extra effort for my child? And I
Right.
said, if it's not me, who will? And that's the reason why I dug in. I was like, I can't fall apart. I can't break down. I cannot lose sight of what the goal is right now, and that was finding him.
Mm-hmm.
So I packed up my little nephew, threw him in his little car seat, drove across that lake, and I saw this store where was near the area where the phone was pinging, and something kept telling me I went past and I can feel the little buzz with the phone. You know how when you have your iPhone, they find your iPhone and they'll give you the little
Mm-hmm.
hit. And I just said, you know what? I
Mm-hmm.
said it's hitting somewhere at this little apartment complex. So I said I drove back around, and as soon as I went in the little it's a one way in, one way out, it just started buzzing. I said the phone is in here. So the car, so I drove through the development, didn't see it, drove back out, and I just said, well, I got this baby here with me in the environment that the ping was. It wasn't like the greatest of environment. So I said, well, you know what? Let me just go out. And I called the police back. I said, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but as a mother, I had to see for myself. She said, oh, no, you shouldn't be in there. Get out. I said, I am, but I just wanted you all to know that I have found where the phone is pinging. And I just wanted you all to know. And so I came on home and I praying and praying and praying. So I said, I'm gonna drop this baby off tomorrow and I can go back and take a look on my own just in case the car is back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But by that time, they sent the police the next morning to go check the area, but they didn't see the car. And on my way in, I was going to go to the police station with all the information that I had to give to them and somebody else that a friend had a friend that was a New Orleans police officer, and he told me, he said, sometimes just going to the police station, you get a little more headway. So on my way in, the detectives had called me and they said that, did they take a report? Did they give you a number? I said, no, but I said, but the phone is pinging here. I am sure this is where the phone is last pinging. And by this time, he done did his little due diligence for getting information from me. And on my way in, he called and asked me what was the VIN number of the vehicle. So I got all my little paperwork in hand and driving and giving him information. And by this time, he had them made it over to the apartment complex where I had the last ping at. And by the time I dropped the baby off and my niece had came back over there, his car was there. But I did not know the detectives was there. So I said, I probably foiled the investigation. But I jumped out like, there's a car, there's a car. And by this time the detectives had come. So we did find the car right where the phone was pinging. And they did their due diligence with getting search warrants and all this, checking the cameras and things like that. But he wasn't there, but we did find the car. Not sure if the phone was in his car, if that was just like the lag time where the last ping was.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I just said, well, he's not there. And I came home and I prayed again. I just said, Lord, I said, we found the car and perhaps the phone, and I trust you. However you bring him back to me, I just would like for you to bring him back to me. And a couple of days later, they had found his body over in the canal. And that was the beginning of a whole new life for me. Each day is a different day. Um, but just to know that he will never walk through that door again, I will never hear his voice again, never hear him smile, never have to yell, Shay, get that room clean, type of a thing. So, but it's a different journey, and I'm taking each day in prayer and taking each day with grace from my Lord because He is the one that's really propelling me through all of this. Whoever I may touch or help heal through another process of the loss of a young loved one, I'm taking that role on as however the Lord is delivering me and using me to touch others. But it's a journey. It's a journey. It is certainly a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you show such strength. I see you see your brother there saying, my big sister. During this time, I didn't, when it was happening, like I didn't have an opportunity to talk to you as much because I knew that you were busy, and I had basically been told that you were exhausted. And so I would call Martin, and Martin and I would just be talking, and he would be giving me updates and, just telling me the strength that you've been showing throughout the entire process. I mean, each one of your siblings, they say the exact same thing, that your faith is so strong, and the strength that you've shown throughout the whole process is mind blowing. Like nobody could even imagine going through it and then handling it the way that they said. And when I tell you that's what they said for real behind your back, that's what they said for real behind your back, how amazing you were and how heartbroken that we all were at looking for him and then knowing how he was coming home to you. We know that that was your prayer, but that's not, how we wanted the end story to be. And it may have been just the beginning of a whole new world for you because you've been going and speaking into people's lives about how, this situation has changed your life and going forward what we can do to try to stop it from happening to other families. I mean, a mother's love is like no other, and
like no other.
like no other. And now you're out communicating, talking to different officials, different people, expressing, the gun violence, the things that we need to change in our communities, speaking up, whatever it is that needs to be done to stop this, because your son was on his way home, like not bothering anybody.
Yeah,
Nobody can say he was involved in anything that he shouldn't have been involved in, but what and why? You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
he was on his way home, the last conversation. And like you said, immediately you knew that this was out of character for him.
yeah. But I thank everyone for their gracious words and their support and the love. But when I tell you, this has all been God's grace. I cannot begin to even shout it, scream it, say it, but He has brought me through all of this with such humility and grace that without Him, it could not have been done. But and I would tease everyone, and I said between 1:30 and 4 o'clock, that's the Lord's time to speak to me because I will be awake every morning between those hours, and He will give me something, and I would just pray and through the tears, and because those are my moments that of grief, and only He can help me to begin to heal. But I say to everyone that when you open yourself up and just allow the Lord to use you the way that He wants to use you now, is how I am walking through each day. That whomever this voice is to touch, whoever a piece of healing can do for someone else, whatever love they feel through it all, but also if we can begin in the community, and we have to begin in the community knowing that everything that we do, we have to begin doing it uh, for our children. I tell everyone where his car was found. And this is how we have to begin to break the old barriers of not trusting police, not loving our community enough, not as an adult standing up enough. And I think that's the biggest part of where my heart is now, is that unless we can begin to take our communities back and say not here, because if you see JoJo on the corner or JoJo have done something, the first thing we do, we call the police. And when the police get there, we don't know anything. And I tell everyone, we have to begin to stop when we know that a lot of the things that are happening in our community, we can change. And we
Mm-hmm.
just have to step up, step out on faith, and take back the community the way I always tell everybody the way I grew up. My mother and my two neighbors, there was night watch before night watch became night watch. Nothing happened in my community that my parents didn't know. But if
Look, she's
anything
still
happened,
night watch. She's still night
they
watch.
was night watch before Nanny, Miss Lee, and Miss Hannah Pittman. Now, grant you between soap operas from Miss Hannah, you might could walk down the street without her knowing. But other than that, nothing happened in that community. Parents parent then. Nothing that we could have done that was wrong that Miss Lee couldn't reprimand us for. And nothing that Miss Lee's kids could have done that my mom couldn't reprimand them for. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that is what community is all about. We have to begin as a community to take back and say, not here.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to begin to know that the community is made up of law enforcement, is made up regular citizens, politicians, doctors, lawyers. And when we can begin to say, this is our community, we can begin stopping a lot of the violence that is happening in our communities.
Because
And
we could be the crime stoppers. We could be the
we
beginning of
can
crime
be the
stoppers.
crime stoppers. And adults have to take on more of a role that when they see a child perhaps in distress, be able to have that open door where someone can come and talk to you. All of Shane's friends knew. I don't care if you was rich or poor, Shane Brown's going to treat you the same way, and so will his mother.
Mm-hmm.
If I pick up kids and take them to basketball, Shane eat, you're going to eat. I joke around with Shane, I joke around with his friends. If I reprimand Shane, guess what? You're going to get reprimanded too. Pull
Nanny.
your pants
That's
up,
what
pull your
Nanny do.
buttons up, the whole 9 yards. Pull them up. I can joke and kid around, and all the kids call me Ma or whatever, but we have to begin to build in that relationship, even if it's not our own. And that's what I knew my mom did when we was growing up. Our house was like the neighborhood kid house.
It was full.
Everybody, everybody played. Everybody got a whooping, but
And
we was
everybody got
all
a
the
meal. And
and
she
that's
still trying to
that's
feed
right.
everybody.
That's right. And I think that's is a large part of what we have to take back to help our communities uh, build that courage that is so much needed right now. And I tell everyone, until we can build our communities back brick by brick, once we build a community, we can build a city. If we can build a city, we can build a state. If we can build a state, we can rebuild a country. And we
Mm-hmm.
got to begin stomping out the hate, uh, the gun violence, the just self righteous, you know, is me or no one. We just have to begin to parent differently. We have to begin to live differently, and we definitely got to be able to love differently. And love encompasses all of us, not just my little block, my little house, but we got to do it amongst them all. And like I said, that starts from brick by brick with rebuilding the community. That takes building the trust between the community and the police, and the trust with our community leaders. And I said, if we can do those things, I can guarantee you that not as many parents, not as many families will be going through a lot of the things that are happening in these cities throughout this country.
Throughout this country. And I'm gonna speak for just our small town. Something happened just recently, and the conversation is there's nothing here for our kids to do. So there has to be, like we were talking earlier, the involvement that you had with Shane's school, Shane's teachers, with Shane. you know all of this stuff starts at home. The change
Mhm.
begins at home, and
Mhm.
not just with your small family. I mean, you're saying you're saying everything that needs to be said. I'm just kind of reiterating it, that it starts at home. And then if you can help in your community, not just in your house, like me, mine, we're good over here, but reaching out and helping others, that's where the change is going to happen. And these kids need something to do. How I saw one of the news episodes. How did that kid get all those guns? Where did it come
Absolutely.
from? And why
Absolutely.
is the interest at your age guns and not college and not
Mm.
sports and not this? And so We spend all every time you look up, the roads are being worked on, this is being worked on. A lot of that money needs to go into the cities to give these kids something to do. If the parents can't afford it, you know then the program should be available and the parents should be involved. We should be involved. I'm not saying you, I'm saying we, as a whole, should be involved to help these kids get off the streets, get their attention and focus on something other than selling drugs, doing drugs, and having all this ammunition that it's like, where in the world and why?
But like I said, everyone said, "Oh no, it's not a time for it to be political." Everything is political. We have to begin to use our votes. If we truly understand that whoever we are electing, or perhaps not even electing to be in office, but they're not doing anything for our community, we have to make our voice heard through our vote. We have to put people in there that's going to care about our community enough and say, we have to make changes. And those changes, right down to the minute, how are we communing our community centers for our children? What type of programs are we putting back? What type of interest are we putting into our schools? And a lot of that comes from who we are putting in office. Because I tell everybody, the time now is to really start putting yourself into how your community is communing throughout the city, state, wherever you live. Every politician, we see everything that from a woman's right. We have sweeping laws throughout this country for what a woman can do with or without her body. What does that do for the police to go out and arrest one woman because she wanted to do whatever she wanted with her body? Where we can't even make sweeping laws for the police to go out and say, hey, let's see how we can get these guns off the street. Let's see what we can do to infiltrate a lot of the foolishness that's going on in the community. We have to begin to make laws as such that is going to help the police begin to police our communities and help us begin to build that bridge with the police to begin to police our communities. We have to begin to look at politician laws or whatever differently as to how it's been affected in our community. We can have sweeping laws that prevent law-abiding citizens to vote. Why can't we pass sweeping laws that would help curtail the type of guns that are being sold in this country? We got to begin to change our mindset to think like, hey, how are these laws affecting me right down to the playground that my children should be able to play without drugs, guns, or the fear of even going outside? Why can't we begin to look at how minute that we can break down the politician to how the laws are affecting us? So we got to begin to reevaluate how we are looking at politics, our community, and how it affects our communities. So we got to begin to do all of those things. And that all of those things is going to keep our community safe, our children safe, family safe. But until we stand up and say, let me get myself up here and register to vote to make some real change in my community, we got to begin to encompassing how we are selecting and electing our leaders as far as uh, in our communities and in our states and in our cities. We have to begin to do that.
And it's like, from the home to the polls, it can't be a popular vote. Like, you have to vote for what you believe. And so often we just go with the flow. People just try to tell you how to vote, and you're not learning about the person that's in office and their views. So you're just going on popular vote, the name that so that's another way. And when it's time to go and register to vote, when it's time to vote, make the vote count by knowing where your person stands, their ideas, their views, what they plan to do in the community. Because a lot of time it's just like monkey see, monkey do. You say this is who I need to vote for, then I'm just going to vote for them just because this is the way that I've always voted. You don't even want to go across political lines because, oh, it's just this or it's just that. No, you vote for the best person for the job based on
Well,
their views and their ideas and what they're planning to do in your community.
we have to stop putting party over people.
Mm,
We got to stop
girl, I
putting.
like that party. Gotta stop some party over people. I need to.
We
Hold
have
on,
to
I
stop
gotta
doing
catch
it
that girl.
because we're losing lives every day, and if we just voting because this is who we've always voted for, this is who or the party we always belong, but we got to stop putting party over people. And I said until we do that, we're going to continually live in a community where that we feel that our views are not being heard. And in order for our views to be heard, you got to make that vote count. So if everyone goes out for the midterms, which no one, if it's not a president, no one really wants to go to vote. But we got to begin to realize a lot of the politics is within our city and within our state. And we
Mm-hmm.
got to begin to start voting within our city and in our states to make some changes. If we don't like the law that was created, if we don't like how the police are policing, if we don't like X, Y, and Z, we got to make the vote count. And a lot of times, change begins within our own cities. So if we let one particular party rule our city, we're not going to be heard.
And the
We're not
state
going to be
never
seen.
changes. The state
So we
stays.
got to begin. We got to begin locally, right from the school board, right up until the governor of the state. So we got to begin. So if everybody go out and vote, I'm gonna throw this in. Make sure you bring someone or a busload with you so that we can begin to make changes at a local level. And when we can make changes at a local level, we can begin to change the communities that we live. We can begin to change how we want um, our children to live, play, and grow up. So all those things to me is still encompassed in how that we as a community can begin to grow and build and strengthen everything around us, right down to getting the guns off the streets, getting the making sure that the kids have a safe environment, whether just to go outside to a local park to be able to play and not fear that you know, as Shane didn't come back to me, that my child can go out and come back without any fear. So we got to begin to again look at from the time we wake up to how we are spending the time with our children, who our children are spending their time with, making ourselves available to others who are also in the circle of our community. And we always hear that old adage that it takes a village, but if the community is crumbling, the village cannot be strong. So we got to begin to, again, brick by brick, rebuild our community from mom to the children to the church to the police officer to the whatever community center that we are wanting to get our children or ourselves involved. We have to begin to do that because the same thing I did for my son is the same thing my mom did for us. She was at our events. She can work 40 jobs, but she still partook in what we did. And we got to begin to do that same thing in order to strengthen who we are as a community and then rebuild the respect, which I don't think a lot of youngsters even do as much because we don't put that same time and effort into yes ma'am, no sir, and none of this yeah, no. We got to begin to strengthen that village again in order to have our community safe and in a
I
safe
just
environment for all of us.
just wonder what happened to the community. How and when did we let it go from, like, we used to visit, like you said, the night watch, it was on South Blanks before night watch became a thing.
Yeah.
Crime Stoppers, you could be disciplined by the neighbor without the neighbor fearing that the mama was going to come over and, cuss you out or come with their party ready
Mhm.
to fight. Like, what in the world happened to those days? Because it's just not like that. And so we do have to work on rebuilding the village and not being um so quick to get our feelings hurt. Like, you can't tell anybody nothing, from the child to the adult, because the children here, like, it's not, it used to be a thing where when adults are talking, children couldn't be in the room. Now you can tell that the children are right there with the parents, because they come out and they talk just like the mama and the daddy with their views. And it's like, you're too young to even know anything about this, but it's because the rules somehow change. Children are
I
right
don't know
there,
if it's as much as the rules changed as or as much as the parent
the parents
allowing
allow, right,
certain
that's what I'm saying. The rules of the house
certain.
used to be, you go to the room. Now the rules of the house is, you can smoke and drink and party with the parents, and there's no more yes sir, yes ma'am, just like you said. It's just, it went out the window. And when, how did we
Well,
allow
I just think that the parent began to be when I think somewhere along the line someone said, "Oh, we got to be our children's friends," and I think they allow the friendship to outweigh of what parent should really um, be the status in any family. My mother's 86 and she's still mama. And you better come with it. Yes, ma'am. But because we have allowed our children that, I don't know if I want to say that leeway of taking on a responsibility. Well, that's my mom. She's my friend. Or that's my dad. They my friend. I can hang out and stuff like that. Sometimes I think that we allow that to happen too much. And when we allow it to happen too much, we have lost a lot of what it is about parenting. And like I said, I mean, I still do it to this day. The kids come up to me, I say, I'm now Shane's mom. I'm no longer Gloria, I'm Shane's mom, because all the kids see me and say Shane's mom. But they come up to me and they come up to me with respect because I can pass one of the kids when I was picking them up from school. And the little boy was like, yeah. And I turn around, I'm like, what? Oh, yes, ma'am. But you got to allow the kid to know wherever you do that at, you do that at. But when I step in the room, let's have a different type of respect.
mm-hmm,
Pull your pants up. Yes, ma'am. We got to begin to do that. And I think a lot of times fear have come because it was said that the kids wearing their pants baggy and you got to cross the street. No, ma'am. I don't even know the kids. But you got to begin, a parent or adult has to begin to say, not here. What did you say? I don't know how you talk to your mom, but we're not going to talk like that here. And we have to begin to voice that. And when we
mm-hmm,
can begin to voice that, children hear us. And sometimes kids just want to be a kid and not be the tough kid who's supposed to be the tough kid on the block. So
mm-hmm.
we have to begin to say, I'm still an adult here and I still demand the respect that I deserve. And I think we got to begin to take that back. And again, that's a part of the rebuilding the community. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just the grassroots of taking the community back, allowing our children to be children, but also demand the respect that an adult should have, you know, regardless of what may have happened somewhere along the way. We have to begin to parent in a way that's respectful to us as adults, but also respectful to the children that would also carry that same type of respect. And I think that's where we lost a lot of the respect that with our youth today.
Yes, so we have some comments over here. I don't know if you've been able to read them along the way, but you definitely have supporters here, and they're agreeing with everything that you're saying. Because I mean, you're saying a mouthful. I need to pass the collection plate because you preaching on some stuff.
I tell everybody I was always the person behind the scenes, but I just said, but when the Lord propels you to speak up and speak out and step in the forefront, and I just said, well, Lord, if that's where you want me to be, that's where I shall. And however you use my voice is the voice that I want to be of your reason and not mine. And so that's what and why I've been so vocal these days. I was because the Lord has propelled me to the forefront and to begin to use my voice in a different way.
Mm,
And I said if it was all in the nature of my Shane, I said that's what my goal and my purpose will be.
man, and he's like, I have his books here. He's such a handsome fella too.
Oh, that was my big brain. That's what I call him, my big brain.
Shane,
And
come help me. Because look, we're gonna
yes,
get back with
yes,
the technical difficulty. Shane,
yes.
help.
And when I tell you, my one of my greatest joys was when I think in 11th grade they did a short film um, for
A
the
ship a ship without a
yeah, a
sail.
ship with a ship, yeah, without a sail. And when I tell you to see them, he wrote it, he directed, and watching all the behind the scenes shots. And I'm like I said, I'm the behind the scenes mom, so I'm getting all the behind the scenes shots and just as proud as I can be. We go down to Shreveport for the festival, and he was getting so many raves about the film and oh my God. And when they won all categories, I couldn't have been more proud of those kids and Mr. Mason, who was a big part of what they had did there. And but that's when I also knew that this kid, whatever he touched, God had such a blessing on him. And I was just so looking forward to the journey that he was getting ready to partake. And but I thank God for every second of those 20 years. And when he wanted him back, and I just said, Lord, thank you for the 20 years because that was the best 20 years that any parent could have asked for, you know.
Yeah, I saw that let me see, what was the name of it you said? They won all categories in the film
Yeah,
prize.
best
You
writer, best director, best film, best actor, and
everything.
they took all categories. Yeah, it was just such a proud moment for them all. They was on that stage, they jumping high and screaming, and it was such. It was absolutely every bit of what they put their heart and soul into.
And he said, I guess Dr. Mason was like, Shane provided him with that like the next day, like a snippet
Yeah,
of
yeah.
to him one day, and he had it, provided to him like the very next day. He was on it.
No, he was from the time I had to tell you a quick story when he was probably in the second or third grade. He come home and says, "Mom," because I'm always videoing and taking pictures and everything, and a lot of things that I loved. He loved to. He was an avid reader. I loved to read. Math and science was his big thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was into the film. So he comes home one day. All of the kids at school, he got them to sign like a little release form because he had wrote a little movie, and they're gonna shoot it in my backyard. So he got to use my camera, and so early on, he just had this thing about writing and movies, and he just had his mind set on doing some great things. And I was so looking forward to all that he was looking to partake in. But that was the funniest thing. He had all the kids signing with a release, and
I'm thinking sometimes we forget to do that as adults, give people consent to do
yeah,
things. Yes, and had them all sign a release and ready
he
to
had
shoot.
them all signed. Who was going to be the makeup person? Who was going to be the person who did the set? I mean, he had everybody in their places. He had a little movie set. I still have all his little playbills and everything from when he was younger. But he was truly my gift. He was truly my gift.
Whew, well, this has truly been a journey through Shane's life up until it was taken for us it was too soon, but
Yeah,
you know, I just I hope and pray, and I know that it's truly going to happen. That your voice, the new voice that you have, going out and speaking in the communities about the process, the grieving process, the getting your community back process, the parenting process, because everything that you've touched on tonight is a process. Like um, from taking the community back, not being your children's friend only, but being the parent that's friendly, the parent that's involved, the person that goes out and votes not for a party but for the person. I mean, like, this has been an amazing conversation for me because I was reading some of the stuff and I watched some of the videos. I even saw the conviction and some of the little short videos that they showed of the crime that the person previously committed. And how do
yes,
you get away with it? Like, had something been done, like if it would have been a strict punishment at the time, so many other things following would not have even taken place. You
absolutely,
have to
absolutely.
put the criminal behind bars. But before they
Mhm.
become criminals, invest in them,
Of
invest in
course,
their lives because we don't know
absolutely,
what you've been
absolutely.
through to get to this point. And I saw where you were talking on it and speaking about it and the forgiving heart that you have toward the person. Like, I don't have the time or the energy to invest in hating. I just have to show love and be forgiving the way that God would want me to and make my voice
Absolutely,
heard on
absolutely,
behalf of my son
absolutely,
Shane.
absolutely. Because I someone wanted me to speak at a event, and I was just like, Lord, I don't know what I would say. I'm like, cause again, I'm the behind the scenes person. But I thought about it that night, and I just said, because a lot of times we in the community say, "Oh God, I'm only one voice. I only can't do but a certain thing." But I just said, when you go to the Bible and you think about David and Goliath,
Go on, preach, girl. I'm past collection plate in
and
a
I
minute.
thought about it, and I just said that that a community, we have to begin to find that strength, and we have to, when we know that we know where our faith lies. And when the Lord put David and Goliath there with me, he gave David three things to go fight the battle of Goliath, because he didn't fear, because he knew who was truly in his corner. And I said, you know what? When we take three bricks and we begin to build those three bricks, we can begin to allow that stepping stone to be, whether we cut not fear, we bringing in truth, and we fighting because we know our God is that last stone is going to propel us to do what it is that we need to do. If that's taking back our community, rebuilding the parent, rebuilding the trust, the faith, whatever we got to do. But if we say that if David can go to battle with the giant that all feared, and the army couldn't do what this one person God propelled to the front to do, so can we. And we have to be able to do that. And that's when I just said, well, you know what? If the Lord can propel David, who's to say he can't propel my one little voice that's always in the back? So that's why I'm finding my strength, that knowing that in God's word that he shows us when he wants you up front, that's where he wants you to be. And we have to begin to take that truth, bring about that bravery, and then propel on and march and do what he asks us to do. And I think that as a community, we all can begin to do that. And if we can begin to rebuild the community, our village is strong, our city will be stronger, our state will be where we need it to be. And then when we can do each state by state, we can build a world the way the Lord wanted us to walk on this earth. So that's what I truly believe in, and I hold to my heart, and I take this new voice that He propelled me to go and make that statement, and however many hear it, how many buy into it, and we can say, hey, we all are David in our own way, because we know that our Lord has giving us the strength to go and do about His will. So,
Mm-hmm. And we have to learn how not to operate from that spirit of fear, because fear
yes,
will
ma'am.
stop you
Yes,
in your
ma'am.
tracks. Even if you know your role used to be in the back.
Yes,
Sometimes you're like, oh, Lord, you sure you're talking to me? You sure this what you want me to
yes,
say? But but you don't want your son's life to, well, you want your son's life to make a difference, because had he been alive, you knew where he was going and the difference that he was going to make. But because his life ended the way that it did, so short, it's like you can't let it just fall by the wayside. You have to take that voice that you have and continue to tell the story of how he came up, how he was raised, what his goals and aspirations were, because it gives us life. Everybody in the chat is blowing up the chat to hear this testimony, to hear how you're handling it as a grieving mother. Like, the first time I saw you since this happened, that's not how I would define you. You asking me how I'm doing. I'm like, how am I supposed to be asking you how you doing? You're like, girl, how you doing? But it's the grace of God. It's, you can just tell that your faith is rock solid, strong, and it has not wavered, even in the midst of the grieving. Like, you just been amazing. And I know you gave God all the glory, but we just have to tell you that even the people that say I love the Lord, they would be like showing something, showing something totally different, like in a straight jacket or somewhere in the corner, screaming and can't get their life together. But throughout the whole process, from you holding it together while you became investigator mom, up until the very this point right here, I'm gonna put it to this point right here. You've shown amazing strength, and your words are just, I believe, resonating with everyone that's here, that we need to find our voice, let God propel us, because we all have a purpose.
yes, we
Um,
do.
that purpose can change. So you could be walking this way, and before you know it, the Lord will propel you in a completely different,
Completely different.
unfamiliar territory.
Yeah,
But it is okay. We can show up and we can do this. And you're like, hey,
absolutely.
I'm a living witness that it can be done, because I went from the back
Absolutely.
to the front, and not just to the front, but to the front, speaking my voice, speaking
Yeah,
my truth, speaking
yeah.
against what's happening in this world as we live in it today, because it is just changing right before our eyes. Like, we don't have
Right
any
before
control
our
of
eyes.
what's going on, but we do. Like, one person, one voice at a time, we can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I just say that Shane and I is on. The Lord wants to, at this point, to take two separate journeys. So even though our journey seems separate, uh, but our voice, our heart, our soul is one, and it's all about my Lord. So I take our journeys and strive with it, and in love through it all. And again, I just can't say thank you enough for allowing me to share about my Shane and my love for my Lord and his journeys that he has us on right now. So I thank you for that.
I mean, I didn't have to do anything except sit over here and listen to your Shane, the story, sharing your story about your Shane. And it is going to be a story that before you know it, the whole world is going to know about Shane. And we have somebody new on. About I know I'm trying to put all the comments up, but just to know how bright he was, and just to know um, about his legacy. Like, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
going away. Shane is going to continue to live through your voice, through your life, through your testimony, and it's just amazing, and I love it. I just completely love it. Like I said, he was a handsome little fella. Yes, indeed. And
Everyone said he was my twin. So I said, no, I found him somewhere. The Lord allowed me to feed him, and he began to look like me.
yeah. So look, I have my books, and then you bless me with a bag. So I have my pen, and I'm constantly writing with my pen. that you blessed me with of Shane. And when I tell you, it blessed my heart. Um, he definitely is living on in many households already, and the more you share it, the further your voice goes, because of technology, we're here today, but it's across the world. You know what I mean?
Oh,
At the click
absolutely.
of a button, someone can see the story of Shane. When I Google Shane Brown now, it comes up. And so now after this video, it's going to come up again and again and again. And you just continue to share this story, because I believe that's where we're going to start saving lives.
That was a part of his tribute, the little yellow tablet. The kids was come up with something. Just say, you know what? Um, let's give someone a pen and a tablet and tell them to write their own story. And that's how the yellow booklet came about. That I want everyone to be able to write their own stories, tell it through their own voice, and allow others to see who they are. And I just think that was the best part of who he was. That his voice has now become my voice, and our voice has now become the people's voice.
Oh,
And the people's voice is our voice through our Lord. So I take that journey, and I will continue to strive with it and use my voice in that way.
I got put. I didn't catch all of it, but that was. I love it. His voice became my voice, and my voice became our voice, and our voice became people's voice. So I put the last part so I can put it up real quick. But we are now the people's voice,
We are the
and
people's voice.
we are the people's voice.
Yes,
Isn't that
we are
something?
the people's voice. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. Look at Lisa. She said, "Glory." Brianna said, "That's beautiful."
Thank you all so much for the support, the love. And again, I can't even begin to thank you all enough because through all through you all, my grace will continue to shine, and I appreciate that.
Yes, and if there's anything that you plan to do, um, let us know so that we can come and be of a support. Because, like I said, from down to my books, I keep them close. I keep my pen and my other yellow, and I'm sunshine now, so sunshine definitely. I'm picking up my yellow pen. I'm picking up my yellow tablet. I love it. I love what you did to continue to celebrate his life. I love what you're doing to continue to celebrate his life. And it is just truly a testimony to be told and to be shared. So I do thank you for saying yes. I thank you for coming even when you didn't feel well, to share your story about your sweet Shane. And we love you and we love him. And let's see what else we got. Lisa said, "Thank you." She said, "Honey, you have encouraged me tonight." Brianna said, "Thank you for your transparency." So yeah, so you'll have to come back one night, and we have another conversation just to keep us up to date. I know things are still in the process of taking place, and that part of it probably can't be talked about right now. But once we get to the next level, you have to come back and have a
I
different
shall.
conversation.
I
Yes.
will. I will. I'm always, always available to you. So absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a blessed night. Thank y'all so much for joining Conversations with Celena. This has been probably the most amazing one that I've had so far. And it's only going to get, how would Dominique say it, gooder and gooder. So y'all can, that's what he be saying. He be messing with a pastor. And he say it's going to get gooder and gooder. So y'all continue to pray for Gloria and her family. Continue to pray for Conversations with Celena, that we will continue to progress, propel, share stories like this so that we can grow together, because that's what it takes. We're rebuilding our community, and it starts with who? You. So y'all go out and be great. Go share, smile, and spread some sunshine. Have a great night.